love the fact that you all are so invested in the law enforcement community, emergency responders, because obviously it's near and dear to y'all's heart because you lived it, right? And so what does it mean personally when a law enforcement officer or an emergency responder or military personnel, what does it mean to you when they come to you saying, hey, I trust you to build my house? What does that personally mean to you, having been in those shoes?
Let me address a part of that, and then Marty can speak to it from a personal, I feel I've lived the aspect of it. But one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people have trust issues, especially people who have experienced and dealt with trauma. And every one of those types of folks have dealt with trauma. And I've worked on the other side of it, of dealing and ministering to people who have dealt with trauma. One of the things they say is trauma rewires your brain. And one way in which it rewires it is creates trust issues. And so going back to the first question you asked about working with people who are dealing with this new stressful situation. So we're just, the whole aspect of building a home, thinking about spending $500,000, $750,000, $1 million on a property, that's a little bit stressful, right? Yeah. And so just on our end, trying to reassure folks that, hey, we've got this, we're on your team, we work as a team. When something goes wrong, you'll never hear somebody say, it's not my job. It's, how can I help? How can I jump in and help? And that's the perspective and attitude that we have. And I know that first responders always have that attitude. They can't say, hey, it's not my job to grab that axe and bust that door down and go through it. That's his job. The axe is there, you go and knock it down. So from that standpoint, our perspective is, how can we serve you? How can we, as Marty said, how can we help you get from wherever it is you're living to property acquisition, design and development from the architectural standpoint of that house, to building a house that can be, for these people, a sanctuary that they can come to after a day's work of stress and unplug and commune with their family and with their God. That's the kind of place we want to build. A safe place for a person to come home to.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was well said, Patrick. That's why Patrick is here. Because he's going to communicate. Each member of the team communicates in their own personal, through their own personal experiences, their personality, and where they come from, and in their morals, values, and belief systems. So that we recognize that within, but we also recognize that when a client comes in. Because a client, they've got their own stuff. But we have an understanding in our organization here and in our culture that already exists. So we don't really have what we would call, oh, that's a difficult client. We just have, well, that's a way of seeing it, or that's their way of seeing it. Now, how do we take that and apply it to the goal? Because it's about them. It's not just about that. It's about them. And we really take that serious. We really do. And it creates a mindset, and it's a choice to go down that road with them. You asked me, how does the trust issue thing work out with me coming from law enforcement and recognizing that with other law enforcement people, or people, I like to call them just emergency responders, because they could be the 911 dispatch operator to the paramedic, the firefighter, the street cops, the police and sheriffs and marshals, and you've got the highway patrolmen, and then you've got the men and women who are working in the prison systems, the corrections officers. And then that keeps going down, though. It goes into the military personnel, and pick one of the branches, it's about respect. Respect is paramount, number one. Then the reason why we have trust issues, though, is because we've had so many interactions with so many people that were just flat out lies. They were just excusing away, trying to finagle their way out of it. They were being the artful dodger, just trying not to be held accountable for their actions. And it was our job at times to hold people accountable for their actions, whether that's the military personnel dealing in a deployment situation or a security situation, or that's law enforcement out in the streets or in the prisons, dealing with families and people, or that's our back office support in the emergency response industry when they're on the phone with people or they're trying to get a schedule or keep people safe too, trying to provide help, get people sent and resources into the right direction. And so a lot of us, the common theme is we've been in traumatic situations. We've been in situations where people just, they're flat out lying. Yeah. Well, back on the topic of trust, you know, in our vision, we want to be the most trusted custom home builder in the Chattanooga region. We want to be known for that. We want to be known for uncompromising quality, clear communication, and building the experience that reflects the integrity of every step of the build. And it's a core value in who we are, with integrity first, and then we go to ownership. Everybody takes ownership in your project because we want every team member to be reflecting the same value of the property and the project as the homeowner does. We really want to align with them. And then we want to have excellence in communication. And there's a ton, like I said earlier, there's a ton of communication. Hundreds, thousands of conversations, even before we get into the build. Because the clearer the scope of work is, the clearer the communication and the totality of the communication in the beginning, before we even start, really sets the project right.